Hi, I'm Kevin Lee. I'm here with Barry Schwartz, who's been in the SEO industry almost as long as I have. We wanted to talk about how SEO had changed a little bit or a lot over the years, and some recommendations that Barry might have for folks who are early into solving their SEO problems. So thanks for joining me, Barry. We'll start off with, for those who haven't lived through the ups and downs of Google algorithms for many years, how would you recommend that they approach SEO if it's a new challenge that they're facing as a digital marketer?
Well, first, thanks for having me. Apologize for the haircut. COVID's going on. But it's a good question. I mean, I personally love to get bogged down in all the algorithm updates. I write about it. That's what I do. It's a hobby of mine. But I would recommend to those who are watching and they're brand new to SEO, don't get bogged down in this stuff. Don't worry about it. Google updates happen all the time. They're happening every day. It's not like it used to be back when we first started and there was like every 30 days you wait for a Google dance to happen, the page rank scores would update, data centers would update, and you would know how much money you would make for those 30 days based on your rankings for that when that update happened. But now literally updates happen all the time. Focus on basically making the best type of website you possibly can. Don't worry about Google. Don't worry about your page rank scores, your DA, whatever you want to call it. It's not that important. Look at it from making really the best type of resource for your user. It's kind of easier said than done. But I remember Matt Cutts saying, well, in the early days, you should really think about how Apple builds their packaging and build that for your website. Even though Apple might sell the same, now a computer back then, like laptop, than a PC did, but their packaging was so much nicer that people wanted to buy Apple back then. Now, not so much. People are doing it, whatever. But it's the same thing. You want to make sure your website really serves the users, makes your users really excited about your brand, makes your users want to go to your website and want to refer your website to their friends, drive links and other things, that Google will want to rank your website. I always tell people, when it comes to ranking well on Google, you want to make a website that's so amazing, that's so great, that if Google is not ranking it well for the relevant keywords that you're ranked for, that somebody at Google, an engineer, will look at that and be like, what's wrong with our algorithm that this site is not ranking well? And that's their ultimate goal, to rank the best websites for the relevant queries.
So a follow-up question on that, obviously user experience has a lot to do with that then. And Google's really moved to sort of a mobile first preference, right? And one of the catalysts we see for sort of a refresh of SEO has to do with when somebody who hasn't gotten around to fully mobile optimizing realizes they have to basically take everything that they've got and sort of reskin it in a mobile friendly way. Often that ends up bringing up architecture issues and navigation issues, not just readability issues. So how would you recommend that people think about how much to change, right? Because sometimes it's not just a matter of sort of flowing the content into a new WordPress theme or something like that. It's really a matter of thinking, about how the consumer will need to interact with your entire corpus of information, but on a screen that you'd have to squint to see anything in detail.
Right. I mean, that's why they're calling it mobile first, because you got to build first for mobile. Meaning, if your site is hard to navigate on a mobile basis, if you look at anybody's analytics, the majority of websites these days, most of the traffic to it is mobile. Even Google said most of their traffic is mobile. Mobile first indexing, I think, is going to fully launch. Well, it's supposed to be mobile friendly. There's two things: mobile friendly update as well as a mobile first index. And what that means is basically Google gives you a little boost if you're mobile friendly, but mobile first indexing is when Google crawls your website as if a smartphone, like an iPhone, Android phone, was crawling your website. So fundamentally, if Google cannot crawl the website as you see it on your mobile phone, and there's problems with how your website renders on a mobile phone, then Google's not going to be able to properly understand your content and your navigation, and there'll be fundamental issues in terms of how Google is able to rank your website because it doesn't understand your website. Outside of that, making your website mobile friendly from the onset is going to help not just you rank well in Google and make Google help you index in Google and rank in Google. It's also going to help your users that are going on mobile phones. So I would just take it as approach of like, let's scrap this website. There's plenty of platform. Obviously, if you have a site with billions and billions of pages, it gets more complicated. You should hire somebody like yourself for a strategy on that. But it's really put the mobile first strategy first. Worry about the desktop later. I mean, things like feature snippets, voice search, that's something that's going to be very interesting. There's lots of different strategies you could take, but in terms of mobile first, it's not about, looking at what pieces you could go ahead and fix. It's more about really starting from scratch and really building a new interface.
So one of the things that, I'm not sure if that's still your core business or not, but you used to build a lot of websites, and there was a period of time where there was this mentality where a marketer would basically build a website and then they'd be like, okay, great, I'm done, I spent the money, and then they would move on and not think about how does the website need to continuously improve. Obviously, Google has really pushed a lot of website owners into the realization that maybe the website is never really done, right? And sometimes in the case, particularly when you're taking a mobile unfriendly website and re-architecting it and redeploying it as mobile friendly, you're talking about a significant amount of investment. So how do you think it's best to sort of educate the marketer on the fact that websites are not a set it and forget it. They're more of a living document, like a living corpus of information that need TLC along the way.
If you look at any of the successful websites out there, they are redesigning their websites constantly. They're constantly looking at analytics, metrics on how their users are using their websites, doing A/B testing to see what works better for increasing conversion rates by just even a smidget. Because if you have 1,000 visitors and you could increase your conversion rate a little bit, that can make your sales drastically higher. Imagine if you had 10,000, 100,000, 1 million visitors in a month. Slightly increasing your conversion rate by deploying a new redesign, making it mobile friendly, making a button blue versus green versus red. All those little things matter. And the best websites, the most successful websites, are constantly trying new things, looking at the analytics, improving and improving. Even Google says, Google launched how many products over the course of your career that they eventually got rid of? Google Plus, Google Reader, authorship, RelNext, RelPrev. You name it. Google, there's a whole list of hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of products that they've released and then trashed completely. That also comes with all the features they're testing. Literally every day, I get probably 20 to 30 different people telling me, is this new in Google? Did Google release this new feature or that new feature? The answer is yes, they're constantly testing new things. So if Google is constantly testing new things and new approaches with their search results, with their maps, with their whatever, and new features with rich snippets and so forth, you as a website owner, you also have to go ahead and build out new features and test things and deploy new things all the time. Your website from 1996, no offense, I don't know if you have a version of your old website from 1996?
Only on archive.org.
So I have 1997.rustybrick.com, 1998.rustybrick. I saved them all. Not all, most of them. It's fun to look back and say, oh my God, this Flash website that was so cool back then, Flash doesn't run anymore. So it's the same concept. Things have to improve. You buy a house, you just can't leave the house there for 30 years and not do any maintenance. You got to constantly improve it. Same thing with your phone. You get a new phone every few years also. So it's just the nature of, living in this world.
Do you feel like that puts small to medium-sized businesses at a disadvantage? Obviously, Amazon and eBay can afford to continuously iterate, as can any fairly large marketer. When you start to get into the smaller businesses, CRO, right, or user experience optimization seems expensive to them, right?
It is expensive, but there's lots of free tools out there. Google Analytics has tools. Google has tons of tools. There's tons of tools out there that let you do these experiments. It might be hard to use, but there's lots of good consultants out there that you could hire for a relatively low rate that know this stuff very, very well, that could really get you to compete on some level with not necessarily Amazon, but with your competitors. You look at your main competitors and you want to compete with them, and there's lots of free tools out there that you can use to leverage this. It could be an investment, but the benefit that small businesses have is they can move a lot faster than a company like Amazon. They could get things out there much faster, test much faster than most of these larger corporations.
Great. So any parting thoughts on what people should be thinking about for the upcoming year, other than the recovery of the economy via the COVID-19 meltdown. But other than that, from a sort of a digital marketing and SEO perspective, what should people be doing? What should people be investing in?
Well, if you haven't gotten your PPP loan yet, no, I'm just joking. I think there's a few more days for the PPP loan.
I think so.
Anyway, that's bad joke maybe. That being said, no, I mean, there's obviously mobile friendly, which is old, mobile first indexing, that type of stuff. But the new thing that's coming out in 2021 is the page experience update, which looks at core web vitals. So it's Google core web vitals. You'll learn more about that. That includes things like the page experience, like how fast is the page loading? Does the page jump up and down? Is it mobile friendly? Is it secure? All those things you want your users to really feel when they're going to your website. You want them to have a fast experience, a friendly experience. You want it to be mobile friendly. You want it to not jump around when you're going on the website. So that's one algorithm update that they're releasing sometime in early 2021. So if you're looking for something brand new to look at, go to Google and search for Google page experience, and you'll find lots of articles about that, and focus on making sure your website is compatible and scoring well with the core web vitals.
Great, thanks so much. Appreciate it.